Learn everything you can, anytime you can, from anyone you can. There will always come a time when you will be grateful you did. I was listening to, I think it was a podcast this week, and they were talking about self-driving cars and how they are coming very soon, much sooner than we think. And they went on to say that one day we're going to look back and wonder, why did we ever let human beings drive automobiles? And when I think about that, it is so true. When you see the risk that people take just to save a few minutes or a few seconds even on their drive, it is so crazy out there sometimes. I tell you, for about a 2-month period last year, I developed a pretty serious phobia behind driving. That's just how crazy it gets out here in Southern California. And media production. I absolutely love the process of bringing this podcast to you every week. So this show meets at the intersection of those 4 things, and I am thrilled that you are joining me today for episode number 5. And the episode this week is entitled Learning Machine. Before we dive into today's quote, we are 5 episodes into this new show, and I don't think that I have mentioned the fact that there is a website associated with this podcast. The URL is My Quest for Quotes. You can either type out 4 or you can use the number 4, myquestforquotes.com. The website is set up like a blog. It's very straightforward. You can go there if you would like to listen to each episode that we previously have done. And there is an about page and a contact page. You can email me at info@myquestforquotes.com. info@myquestforquotes.com. If there is a particular episode that that really speaks to you, by all means, please share it on social media. You can do it right there from the website. And speaking of social media, this podcast also has a page on Facebook, and it is at facebook.com/myquestforquotes. Enough housekeeping. Let's dive in. This week's quote comes from Sarah Caldwell, who lived from 1924 through 2006. Sarah was a member of the Arkansas Entertainers Hall of Fame. Recognized as a child prodigy, she was performing in public on violin by the age of 10 and graduated from Fayetteville High School at 14. She studied violin at Hendrix College in Conway, Faulkner County, and won a scholarship to the New England Conservatory of Music. In 1946, she won a scholarship as a viola player at the Berkshire Music Center in Tanglewood, Massachusetts. In 1957, Sarah started the Company of Boston with $5,000. There, she staged a variety of operas, establishing a reputation for producing difficult works under pressure. In 1975, Caldwell was featured on the cover of Time magazine. Caldwell became the first female conductor of the Metropolitan Opera the following year. For those of you who may be listening to this episode and you're in the younger demographic, you may not know that back in 1975, newspapers and magazines were a big deal in terms of pop culture, in terms of news gathering. They were a huge deal. And I'm quite sure I can't, obviously go back and interview her and ask her this, but I'm quite sure being featured on the cover of Time magazine was a great highlight in her career because Time magazine was a huge deal. Now, there is one other intersection in this podcast that I haven't mentioned. As I say at the top of each episode, that you're meeting me at the intersection of several things that I get excited about. And those are quotes, podcasts, technology, and media production. But there is one other intersection that we meet at that I really get excited about. And that intersection is biographies. As I'm sure you have noticed by now, I give you some background on each person that we quote for that week. Now, I didn't do it for Oprah because, she's Oprah. Everybody knows Oprah. What I'm going to do in the future, however, for the more popular people we quote, like Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali or someone like that, I'm going to try to find a little known fact about them that we can highlight in the podcast. So look forward to that. And this week, Sarah Caldwell says to us, learn everything you can, anytime you can, from anyone you can. There will always come a time when you will be grateful you did. In terms of being a learning machine, which is the title of this episode, podcasts are one of the main tools in my toolkit when it comes to learning. There are so many shows out there that you can learn just about anything on podcast. I'll give you a few examples. I found about a month ago that there is a podcast on the Twilight Zone. And so I subscribed to that episode and I listen to it every time the person comes out with a new episode. And it is exciting for someone who likes the Twilight Zone like I do to be able to listen to that podcast. I like the way they talk about the different actors that do the different scenes, and they give you some background on the actors. And of course, they try to tell you what was going through Rod Serling's mind when he was directing a particular episode. And it is just a very interesting show. There's podcasts out there on Star Trek, Star Wars, the show Lost, just about anything you can think of. There is a podcast out there for you. Of course, another important tool in learning is books. Some of my favorites are The Rhythm of Life by Matthew Kelly, Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, Darren Hardy, Hardy, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, Elrod, Mindset by Carol Dweck. The thing I really like about that book is it shows us that our ability to learn is not fixed. It tells us that you have to have a growth mindset. If you have a growth mindset, you can set yourself up for learning. And if you don't come at a particular subject as your intelligence is fixed and you can't learn new things, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to accept the fact that we can grow. We can get better. We can learn to do different things at any age. There are many more books that I could mention, but I'll stop with this one. The Brain Always Wins by John Sullivan and Chris Parker. Very excellent book. And you'll be amazed at some of the things they tell you about the brain. And it really helps you in terms of performance and some of the things that you can do to have better brain health. One of the more important things that they talk about in terms of brain health is getting enough sleep. Also, when it comes to learning, Google is your friend. The thing about Google and the internet is that they are a two-edged sword. You can learn how to cook a gourmet meal, and you can also learn how to poison someone with that same meal. Another favorite in the toolkit is, of course, YouTube, the second largest search engine in the world behind, of course, Google. Well, my friends, let's take Sarah Caldwell's advice and become learning machines. As Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. This should go without saying, but Execution on what you learn is where the magic happens. Thank you for joining me this week. Please hit the subscribe button and come back again and again. And remember this, quotes don't work unless you do. A meal, and you can also learn how to poison someone with that same meal. Another favorite in the toolkit is, of course, YouTube, the second largest search engine in the world behind, of course, Google. Well, my friends, let's take Sarah Caldwell's advice and become learning machines. As Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. This should go without saying, but execution on what you learn is where the magic happens. Thank you for joining me this week. Please hit the subscribe button and come back again and again. And remember this, quotes don't work unless you do.